And there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another incredible installment from very high above all the puerile and insipid forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Tuesday, December 23rd. If you haven't figured it out yet, it's 2 days before Christmas. And I have to tell you, my friends, when you're in the news business and you're pretty sure you're the first in the state to have this, or at least the first one to be able to go on the air about a story, it's a pretty good day. So Merry Christmas to me. And the top story today, which we're going to talk a lot about today, is Representative Harriet Hageman has announced a run for the U.S. Senate in the 2026 election. That's big news. I mean, a lot of people didn't know what she was going to do. I myself had my doubts. Or not doubts, but I didn't really know which road she was going to go. And I think if you listen to the podcast where I went through all of the electoral scenarios, I think that was pretty clear. But it's official now, and Representative Hageman is running for the United States Senate. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. At the top of the hour, I'll have my business partner, Rebecca Bextel, will be on the show. Just to walk through all of the politics surrounding this. And I mean, there's a lot of different things that have that this announcement kind of opens up. And, you know, everybody in the state was kind of waiting to see what Representative Hageman was going to do before they made an official decision. And so since Harriet is going to run for the Senate, well, that there's a couple of decisions that can be made, or that, you know, honestly, and this is the thing that I that kind of irritated me a little bit about all of this, 2026 picture, that if you want to run for something, you should run for it. If you believe that you're the right person for that job, you should just make that decision. And, you know, I understand the politics surrounding it. I, above everybody, recognize that, or above most people anyway, recognize that in Wyoming, all things are politics, except for politics, of course. That's personal. And so there's a lot of different considerations that go into this. So I totally get that. It's just, you know, being in the news business, I kind of wished I would have had the heads up. We could have had a heads up on all of these things. But, you know, if we did that, things wouldn't be nearly as interesting as they are. So we're going to start the program with talking about that announcement. It came in the form of an article on Fox News, which I've got right here. And then there's also a campaign video that was released by the Hageman for Wyoming campaign that I'm going to play for you. It's actually a pretty cool video. So lots to do today. Oh, yeah. And, you know, of course, we have to do some Christmas stories. So I've got a couple of those in the stack. And, you know, let me explain how show prep goes. Yeah, you have an idea how the program's going to run. And so I start sending articles to the printer. And then when I'm ready, I just grab the whole stack and start sorting through them. And then invariably, something comes along and throws a real hitch into everything, and you have to reorganize. That was this morning. And so the stack of stuff is somewhat disorganized, but that's okay. We're going to get through it. So we begin with the top story, probably the one that everybody has been waiting for. Harriet Hageman has announced that she's going to run for the U.S. Senate. From Fox News. And I quote, Republican Representative Harriet Hageman of Wyoming, a strong House supporter of President Donald Trump, on Tuesday announced her candidacy for the Senate race to succeed retiring GOP Senator Cynthia Lummis. Hageman's campaign launch comes 4 days after Lummis announced that she wouldn't seek re-election in next year's midterms for the second six-year term, representing the solidly red Western state in the Senate. If she wins next year's election, Hageman would give Trump another top supporter in the upper chamber of Congress. And I quote, President Trump's America First movement made it possible to say you want to make America great again. And he continues to deliver on that promise, Hageman said in a statement and launch video announcing her candidacy. It would be a great honor to keep advancing the America First agenda in the Senate as it has been in the House. Hageman, a water and property rights attorney, grabbed national attention in 2022 when, with Trump's support, she then ousted Representative Liz Cheney, Crickets Cheney on this program, I'll remind them, in the Republican primary for the state's at-large congressional seat. Cheney had become a top Trump target as just being one of the 10 House Republicans, and to put it quite simply, Harriet trounced her. I mean, it was one of the biggest landslides that I think we've seen in a long time. So I guess where we should start is with Harriet's campaign video, the one that was released this morning. And I'm telling you, I guess it was about 7:30, my phone started blowing up. When news happens, it usually comes in avalanches. Sorry, folks in Jackson. Too soon on that one? Yeah, there's another story where there was a giant avalanche over on Teton Pass, and it's apparently it's like 30 feet of snow and it's 100 yards long or something like that. But it's a pretty good avalanche. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Here is Representative Hageman's campaign video.
My mother was born on a farm 102 years ago. They spent their days working to put food on the table and preparing for harsh winters. Just think about how things have changed in her lifetime. The cars we drive, the clothes we wear, the technology we use. Our standard of living has exploded this past century. And the primary reason why? The commercial production of affordable and reliable energy. Wyoming has been the leader in these advancements, and that is why I dedicate every day to defending and maintaining our way of life.
Thank you for defending us.
Wyoming is a beautiful state, but our people matter the most. Our faith, our family, our community, and our country. That's what we care about. That's what we fight for. This community gave my father the beginning of a great education in this one-room schoolhouse. And blessed by God, Wyoming continues to give my family so much. And that's why, in my few short years in office, I have fought for our communities, securing $15 million in federal funding for Wyoming infrastructure projects, airports, highways, roads, and bridges. I have fought against reckless RMPs written by DC bureaucrats with no clue who we are. And I've stood with President Trump to deliver the largest tax cut in American history, helping working families keep more of their own money.
Thanks for caring about us, Harriet.
Ranchers build fences to protect their property. I worked with President Trump to pass $46 billion in additional funding for border security while ensuring that Wyomingites do not pay the cost of new immigration. We worked together to secure the border and fund efforts to remove and deport those in the country illegally.
Keep up the fight, Harriet.
We must keep up this fight, and that's why today I'm announcing my campaign for United States Senate. This fight is about making sure the next century sees the advancements of the last while protecting our culture and our way of life. We must dedicate ourselves to ensuring that the next 100 years is the next great American century. Wyoming is critical for achieving that goal. I am honored to fight for you, and I'm even more honored you are joining me in this fight.
So, pretty cool campaign video, and it kind of kicks off the 2026 political campaign, I guess. Well, what I meant to say was the campaign season. Everybody was waiting for what Representative Hageman was going to do. Now they have an answer, and it kind of answers a lot of other questions as well. A lot of conservatives were waiting to see what she was going to do, and Secretary of State Chuck Gray has said that he was going to run for whatever seat that Harriet didn't run. So, that opens up either the governor's race or the House of Representatives. I think he's going to go for the House of Representatives, which kind of begs the question, who will run for governor? We've already got two people running. Brent Bean, he's a solid conservative. He ran against Mark Gordon in 2022, I believe it was. And, he got a respectable 48,000 votes. And so he's running again. In fact, he announced over a year ago that he was going to run for the governor's mansion. And then Redcoat former Speaker of the House, who voted with the Democrats an average of 85% of the time through his entire legislative career, Eric Barlow, announced his run, several months ago. And so, that leaves one other seat. And, who knows? Maybe it'll just be Brent Bean and Eric Barlow. But there's a question of what some other people are going to do, too. If you listen to the podcast that I published, I guess was it Saturday? I'll have to go back and look during the next break. But I went through all of these scenarios. And, I know a lot of people are supporting Dennis Beitman, but there's no scenario I see where he actually wins. And so, the real contenders, I think you've got Megan Degenfelder. Of course, the two that have already entered the race, well, technically there's three because there's Joseph Kibler too, but he made the gigantic error of deciding that he was going to run as an independent. That pretty much, as if it wasn't an uphill climb to begin with, but that sealed the deal for him. Being an independent, he's not going to win the governor's race. So we've got Harriet running for the Senate, and then I'm sure we'll start hearing some campaign announcements coming pretty soon. So big news this morning, as if anything couldn't get any crazier. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. And like I said, stay tuned, because at the top of the hour at 9:00, my pal Rebecca Bextel is going to join the program, and we're going to talk the politics of this whole thing. So make sure you stay tuned for the whole program. It's going to be a busy day. All right, let's see here. What have we got next on here? Oh, yeah. The Grinch. Actually, he is the Grinch. Governor Mark Gordon taking $100 million of your money and giving it to a nuclear company. And this is the sort of handouts that this liberal administration, Redcoat administration, has been doing the entire time he's been in office. It doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's a woke wind project or if it's some other sort of solar panel project or some crazy synthetic jet fuel deal that he approved on the slip board. Now he's giving $100 million to BWXT from the Turkey Vulture. In an article entitled, Governor Awards $100 million, and it should say of your money, in matching funds to BWXT nuclear fuel facility. This is the kind of crony capitalism that absolutely has to come to a stop. This is the exact same thing that Josh Durrell was talking about with the Wyoming Business Council, that the government has to be involved. Now, wait a minute. If BWXT can come up with $100 million to match whatever the governor is going to pull out of his slush fund, why couldn't they come up with $100 million of other private equity? The truth is, they could. It's just easier to use your money. From the Turkey Vulture, and I quote, Governor Mark Gordon and the Wyoming Energy Authority announced Friday afternoon the award of $100 million in large project energy matching funds to BWXT to help construct the Trezo fuel fabrication facility in Wyoming. BWXT will match this grant award with $473 million. So wait a minute. Okay, so that even makes it worse. When they say matching funds, I mean, what immediately pops into your head is, okay, so they're going to provide $100 million of theirs. So they were able to come up with almost $500 million, and they couldn't come up with $100 million more. Why? I mean, if you can come up with half a billion, certainly another $100 million is pocket change. But because the governor is intent on pulling money out of his Grinch bag, he wants to give your money away. And it is another way to get government involved in private business, because we're under the mistaken impression that somehow these businesses won't come here if the government isn't shelling out money. Now, we heard from Josh Durrell that it was his job to create an economic system, that we absolutely had to have, government intervention in order to get anything accomplished. Let's see if I've got the, here we go. Yeah. So here's a montage I put together of Josh Durrell. Now, you just tell me if what you're going to hear matches what I just read to you from the turkey vulture. Listen to this.
The free market as an ideal, unfortunately, it doesn't exist except at, maybe those ivory tower type institutions that we might call as in academia, and that's where it exists because it's a model. It's not about having a super small government. It's having an appropriately sized government that's important. And for the problem that we're looking to solve, we're not appropriately sized. We are indeed too small.
The free market is actually not free, but you have to remember those markets are working.
Okay,
the market is working against us. So we have to use government intervention to actually reverse that. I know all of you.
There will likely need to be, there will need to be government interventions if we wish Wyoming to compete in the U.S. economy. And that's the perspective that we have. And we do have a few of those interventions, and as palatable or as needing Benadryl as they might be to some of us, they're necessary if we want to compete with the other states.
I can't take it anymore. The government has to be involved for us to be able to compete. We have to be involved in the free market. The free market is working against us. It is not. And again, if you're able to come up with $500 million to fund your project, why in the heck can't you come up with another $100 million instead of going to Wyoming taxpayers? If we continue to pick winners and losers, this economy is never going to grow, which is the exact opposite of the argument that Governor Gordon and all of his acolytes use, that in order to get the economy growing, government has to be involved. That's stupid. It's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard, because you're artificially involving yourself in business when you don't have to. These people already have $500 million to spend. Why do they need taxpayer money? The answer to that is they don't. It doesn't make any sense. Back to the article. Quote, "This is about meeting real energy demands with real projects," Gordon said in a press release. "Energy matching funds are not about government picking winners. They're about responding to market signals and investing where private capital, innovation, and demand are already moving." Well, if they're already moving and they already have private demand and there's already private equity markets that are involved in this, why in the heck do you have to give our money to private companies? You don't. It's because we are under the mistaken belief, the mistaken idea that without government, Wyoming will not be able to compete. Really? What built this entire state? Is now, I mean, I suppose the alternate argument to all of this is, well, you have to have better regulations and lower taxes. That's the only sort of government involvement that there should be in the free market. That no matter what it is that you're doing, the only job of government is to keep taxes low and to keep the regulatory burden as low as possible. That's it. That's it. You don't need to be injecting our money and giving it to people that it can already raise hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And Governor Gordon, let me just say this. if you believe that it is necessary to give our money to private corporations, and obviously you do because you've done this over and over and over, there is no reason why you should. I mean, it is socialism. It is picking winners and losers. It is absolutely disadvantaging other companies, so that the ones you like can prosper. It is absolutely ridiculous. The article continues. Both the public and private sectors have invested in nuclear technology, leading to increased demand for uranium. U.S. Senator John Barrasso's Prohibiting Uranium Imports Act of 2024 banned the import of Russian fuel and heightened Wyoming's dominance in uranium deposits as the state is projected to hold 54% of the market share. BWX. Okay, so if we already have 54% of the uranium in the entire country, why is it that any private company wouldn't want to move here? Why? Half the uranium in the country is right here. And so that seems to be a pretty good incentive for companies to move here. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever that government needs to be involved. And the truth is, when government gets involved, it necessarily drives prices up because you're advantaging one company over another. Why is it that BWXT deserves $100 million of our dollars and some other company doesn't? It's because they lobbied the governor better. That's what happened here. BWXT's project builds on that anticipated production by adding fuel fabrication to Wyoming's front-end fuel cycle supply chain. When completed, this project will bring with it more than 200 direct jobs when it reaches full operation, with an estimated annual payroll of $20 million. In addition, economic modeling shows an additional 194 indirect and induced jobs with new pay. All right, so what exactly do they mean by indirect and induced jobs? It means jobs that they can't account for, but they're going to take credit for them anyway. It means jobs that are created with no influence of what they're doing at all. They just think that these jobs are going to magically show up. And what they're talking about is obviously you're going to have more workers in town to build this factory, so you're going to have more food stores, maybe another grocery store, increased employees at Walmart. That's what they're taking credit for. And the reason they're doing that is the governor knows that giving $100 million of our money, just like the deal that happened in Bar None, is going to really irritate people. Now, the folks in Gillette, they're probably pretty happy about it, at least some of them are. But the rest of the state, it's the same arguments. Why exactly do we have to bring this to Wyoming? Why exactly do we have to give millions of our dollars to a company that can obviously raise capital on their own? And so the reason why they make the argument, this will create 200 jobs, when it's completed. And then there'll be 194. Why 194? Why not 200 indirect jobs? You see, they're taking credit for job creation that they couldn't possibly have any influence on whatsoever. Let's see here. Gordon's decision to invest in BWXT helps advance the national momentum and national security, as this facility, when completed, will be the first nuclear fuel fabrication site built in the U.S. in decades and will reduce America's reliance on foreign fuel. This investment by the state of Wyoming supports BWXT's goal to commercialize trizo fuel for advanced nuclear reactors, said Joe Miller, the president of BWXT, the president of government operations. Okay, so, anytime you do anything nuclear, you have to have, it has to pass regulatory hurdles, the NRC and, of course, the state. And so you have to have a relationship with the state. But that does not mean that the state needs to give them a whole bunch of our money. But it's just, Governor Gordon trying to be involved in things that would be better suited if he just left them alone. We shouldn't be picking winners and losers. We shouldn't be giving taxpayer dollars to companies that can already raise the capital on their own. It's just absolutely baffling to me. Now, another story over the weekend, and there were a lot of them, is one from The Blaze. And this one probably flew under your radar, but there's now there are more official questions about the election in Georgia in 2020. And there's a piece in The Blaze entitled, "Did Biden Win Georgia? 2020 election results now in doubt after county admits that they counted perhaps 315,000 unverified votes." So in other words, they were just taking stacks of paper and feeding them through the tabulation machines. But now they're actually coming out and saying it. it's what amazes me about the media. We'll say, well, wait a minute. There was some problems with the election, and they'll call it a conspiracy theory. And then years later, presumably after they could be held accountable, then they will admit that, there were some problems, after they could be punished for them. But anyway, here's what the Blaze says. Earlier this month, Fulton County made a major admission in the ongoing election integrity cases surrounding the 2020 election. While it won't change anything, the moment may help set the record straight about one of the most questioned elections in U.S. history. In a December 9th Georgia State Elections Board hearing, a representative of Fulton County admitted that hundreds of thousands of votes were uncertified. The admission came in response to a March 22 challenge brought by the local election integrity activist David Cross. Quote, when the law demands 3 signatures on tabulator tapes and the county fails to follow the rules, those 315,000 votes are, by definition, uncertified. Cross alleged that Fulton County violated the Georgia statute in handling of advanced voting in the lead-up to the 2020 election. Specifically, he claimed that election officials failed to sign off on vote tabulation tapes, the crucial step in the certification process. He claimed that his group paid nearly $16,000 in open records requests and received over 77 megabytes of records, resulting in representing more than 315,000 votes. And in Georgia, 315,000 votes would have tipped the election in favor of Donald Trump, which would have, no doubt, come very close to resulting in him winning the election. It was all those southern states, the battleground states, or whatever they want to call them, that supposedly tipped the election in favor of Joe Biden. Well, now they're admitting that, maybe we made some mistakes, but, not going to change anything now. No. But at least we're holding people accountable. The activist emphasized that seeking redress in this case is above partisan politics. This is not partisan. This is statutory. This is the law. When the law demands 3 signatures on the tabulator tapes and the county fails to follow the rules, they're invalid. So it continues, but there is actually a tie to Wyoming in this story. Many people have panned Secretary of State Chuck Gray's attempts to increase election integrity or election security in Wyoming, claiming, of course, that doesn't happen in Wyoming. No, that doesn't happen here. People like Tom Lubnow and Gail Simmons, they're fond of saying, there have only been 6 documented cases of voter fraud. Only 6 in entire history. Again, just because cases aren't going prosecuted, that doesn't mean that they don't happen. It doesn't mean that there isn't voter fraud. We have a perfect case in Weston County with Becky Hadlock screwing up the election. Now, that was a little bit different. Okay, that's not votes being tallied. That was mistakes that were made on the clerk's behalf. And so if it happens once, why shouldn't we assume that it also happens a second time or a third time or in other counties? Because if it is possible for those mistakes to be made, and I use the word mistakes in quotation marks, if it's possible for those to be made, it is also possible that they happened in other counties. And so, all of the belly aching about the election integrity bills that are bound to come up in this budget session, there is a valid reason to have them. And the only reason that you hear a lot of complaining in the media is those are the folks that benefit from the election system that we have right now. That if they were benefiting from it, and if it wasn't going to impact them in any way, they wouldn't be so opposed to it. But the truth is that those on the Wyoming left, the Redcoats and the Democrats, realize that there are holes in our election system, and their opposition to any suggestion that we fix them shows you that there is at least a hint that maybe, just maybe, that side of the political aisle is benefiting from those. All right, so we're at the bottom of the hour. Let's go ahead and take a break. Now, at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock, my pal Rebecca Bextel is going to join the program, and we're going to go over all of this Harriet Hageman announcement this morning and talk about all the politics surrounding it and what it could possibly mean. So stick with the program until 9 o'clock, and we'll go over Harriet's announcement that she is running for the U.S. Senate. You heard it in the state first on Cowboy State Politics. So we'll be back in a minute, and we'll go ahead and finish up our conversation about Harriet's endorsement. Stay with me, my friends. There's lots more to cover. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a busy Tuesday. If you're just now joining the program, Representative Harriet Hageman has announced her run for the U.S. Senate to replace Cynthia Lummis. At the top of the hour at 9 o'clock, my pal, Rebecca Bextel, is going to join the program, and we'll go all over this. But before we do, I mean, it is 2 days before Christmas, and I'll admit, my friends, I still have some elfing to do. It is absolutely true. And, you know, as much as I think that I am prepared for Christmas, it always ends up that I'm up bringing it up to the last moment, and there are still presents that have yet to hit underneath the tree. But that's all right. I'll get it done, and I'm super, super, super excited about it. Now, often, pretty much every year, I play you a little video, or in some cases, the sound of a great, great, great Christmas song. And I don't know if you saw this, but there were several articles over the weekend about how Santa Claus is racist because he's white. That there's no reason why we shouldn't have Santa Claus because he's white. And the truth is, he's always been pictured that way, and I don't understand why you have to screw up every holiday for every single person that you could possibly do that for. But apparently, yeah. So this is a piece that Glenn Beck put together. It's called Ramahana Kwanzmas, making fun of all of the political correctness that always surrounds Christmas. I think this thing is absolutely hilarious. Because, again, you know, it exposes the ridiculousness of the Wyoming left. Here you go. Ramahana Kwanzmas.
Have a Ramahana Kwanzmas. It's the PC time of year. Every holiday displayed because of morbid fear. Happy Ramahana Kwanzmas. Yeah, we know the name is queer. Oh, good golly, can't offend nobody on Christmas this year. Oh, no, the Eskimos need a holiday. We'll get right back to you when we think of one for gay. Happy Ramahana Kwanzmas. What a time for winter cheer. But if you see a Christmas tree, you'll hear Christmas cheers. Screw you, ACLU, for winning the 12 million in your lawsuit versus Santa and his elves. Have a Ramahana Kwanzmas, and everyone must now adhere. So by golly, don't hang up that holly on this year.
But this is a constant theme with the left.
No more sleigh bells either.
We can't have anything that relates to any sort of tradition. And no matter what it is, they have to inject politics into it. Now, certainly there were politics surrounding the birth of Jesus. I mean, he was going to come and be the savior of the world. And, he really riled the Jewish establishment. So, yeah, admittedly, there was a little politics surrounding that. A lot of politics, actually. That's one of the things that got him killed. Today we seem to take it to a huge extreme. Like I said, over the weekend, there were all these pieces about how racist it is that Santa is portrayed as a white guy. Well, he's always been portrayed as a white guy. And frankly, why do you even have to go there? Why is everything in our culture, why is it all boiled down to race? Well, it's if you want to get into the philosophy of it, it's a deconstructionist point of view that comes out of universities. And it's interesting that I bring up the universities because one of the holidays that they mentioned that they were making fun of in that video was Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is not Kwanzaa is not a traditional holiday. In fact, it was invented in 1966 by Maulana Karenga, a professor of African studies at California State University, Long Beach, and an activist in the Black Power movement. Karenga created the holiday in the immediate aftermath of the 1965 Watts riots in Los Angeles as a response to what she called the cultural disconnection experienced by African Americans. His goal was to bring African Americans together as a community and provide an opportunity to celebrate their own history and cultural heritage. And so, as far as holidays go, that's a pretty new one. So I don't understand why we have to continue. Well, I do understand it, but all right, let me back up. That the left has to erase every sort of tradition that we have is part of their ideology. It's no different than trying to convince you of things that aren't true. Their emphasis on all this DEI, LGBTQ, ZXP, WDS stuff. Because if the left can detach you from those things that you've known for, your entire life, the traditions, the values that you have, well, then they can convince you of anything. And so it serves their purpose to try to delegitimize something like Santa Claus or Jesus or just around every religious holiday. And you really see this at Easter. But you'll see articles that say stuff like Jesus was a socialist and they come out of the woodwork. But it seems to me that at Christmas, the attacks become more overt, I guess is a way to put it. Now, this is nothing new. The Soviets in the Soviet Union tried to eliminate Christmas as well. In fact, I did a Christmas episode about this. I was a couple of years ago. Anyway, one of the things they did is they tried to eliminate Christmas carols. They rewrote all of the Christmas carols to glorify the state and not the Lord Jesus Christ. They rearranged the Christmas tree and tried to switch out the colors on it, switching out the red for blue. The angel on the top of the tree, they passed a law that you had to have a blue star at the top of the tree. But what the Soviets found, is that the populace was not going to go along with their changing all of the traditions. And so they backed off all the Christmas carols and they backed off changing the Christmas tree because it wasn't going to work. Because under socialism, under, whatever kids are calling it these days, democratic socialism or communism or Zoran Mamdani's ideology, you have to eliminate religion. Because if your populace is worshiping anything other than the state, your system of government that you're trying to set up won't work. And that's exactly why you see all of these attacks on religion, on holidays, on our traditions, to destroy those things that we believe in favor of their own ideology. So pay no attention to all of this Well, I mean, I guess you could laugh at all these articles that are about, Santa Claus is racist because he's white. It's such bull crap. The only thing we should do is just laugh at it. That's what I'm going to do. All right. So back to the news. We're still seeing editorials about Josh Durrell's appearance in front of the Appropriations Committee, and I don't think that we should lose sight of when Governor Gordon gave that $100 million to BWXT. He did it for the same reason that Josh Durrell says that the free market is broken, that the free market is working against us, that we have to have bigger government. But there's a piece in the Wyoming Turkey Vulture, the Wyoming Tribune Eagle, entitled, "Wyoming Residents Must Decide What Kind of Future They Want." And I quote, "We've said it before, but with less than 2 months until the start of the 68th Wyoming Legislature's budget session, it needs to be said again. Wyoming residents must decide what kind of future they want and then clearly communicate it to those in the halls of power. The good news is that it seems to be happening. Well, at least when it comes to the impact of last week's topic, the outrageously ill-informed proposal to eliminate property tax and replace it with a hike in the state's 4% sales tax. If letters to the editor are any indication, residents are really realizing the potentially drastic impact this would have on basic social services such as fire." Okay, so the first thing they do in the Turkey Vulture does in this op-ed is to go after the proposal to eliminate residential property taxes, and they claim that it's going to be disastrous for the firemen, for the policemen, for any type of social service, but that's not even close to the truth, because even the 25% reduction in property taxes that was passed in the last legislative session, it only amounted to, on average, 4 or 5% reduction in county budgets. There isn't a budget in this world that can't sustain a 4% or a 5% cut. In fact, most communities didn't even realize it. And I think I think it's an absolutely legitimate argument to say, look around you. The cities that you live in didn't crumble down amongst your ears. Most of the roads are still in pretty good shape, except for the ones that are pothole ridden that, apparently there's not an elected official that lives on that street. But everything is pretty much still the way that it was. And that is a stark difference from what city officials told the legislature during this past legislative session, that it was absolutely going to destroy communities, that they're going to have to fire policemen, that they won't have a fire department. I mean, the Cheyenne Fire Department surrounded the Capitol building with fire trucks. I mean, it was overblown, hyper-politicized, hyperbolic rhetoric, just so that the county could keep as much money as humanly possible. But in the end, it really didn't amount to very much at all. And so when the subject of eliminating the residential property tax comes up, probably the county that it is going to impact the most would be Teton County, because they're used to having gigantic amounts of property taxes come in their coffers. Because, I mean, that's the most expensive county in the entire state. But if you move outside of the People's Republic of Jackson, it's really not going to affect hardly anything at all. And the proposal says that we're going to increase the sales tax. Now, I don't know if I'm in favor of it. I mean, I need to do the math on it. I haven't done that yet. But generally speaking, I think that a consumption tax is by far the fairest form of tax because it's entirely voluntary. If you don't want to pay higher taxes, don't buy a lot of stuff. Don't go buy a new car if you don't want to pay higher sales tax on it. But there are a lot of communities that their sales tax is higher than others, and they seem to do just fine, especially if you're going to eliminate private property or residential property taxes. And you add on top of that it's, in my opinion, it's immoral to charge outrageous property taxes to somebody that they have a right to personal property just like everybody else. But you never really own it, because if you don't pay your property taxes, they take your property away from you. So in reality, in a way, and I've heard a lot of legislators mention this, that you're kind of renting your property, that you don't really own it. If it can be taken away from you for not paying your taxes, well, then, that means it's kind of owned by the government in a weird sort of way. And so, you need to take a lot of perspective when reading op-eds from any Wyoming newspaper, and here's why. Most of them, the Casper Star Tribune, the Wyoming Turkey Vulture, your local paper, all of them make a tremendous amount of money off of government. In fact, many small Wyoming papers would not exist if it weren't for government and, them collecting giant sums of money for all the legal advertisements. Years ago, I did a kind of back-of-the-envelope study on how much money the Buffalo Bulletin took in from the government. And all I did was count meetings of the city council, meetings of the county commissioners, the salaries, the bills, and those city and county things. I didn't count oil and gas notices. I didn't count any judicial notices. And the number I came up with, just figuring it on their average advertising rates, is they were bringing in over $100,000 a year just in those legal advertisements. And so, absolutely, your local paper would totally be in favor of bigger government, because bigger government means more money for them in legal advertisements. And so, they're all part of the machine, my friends. And so when you read an op-ed like this one, you need to take some perspective with it, and just ask yourself, why are newspapers, why is the media, and I'm talking about all Wyoming media, why are they so intent on defending government? It's because they all make a tremendous amount of money off of government. Just look at the cow pie. How many of the ads do they have on all of their articles that are straight up government? It's either the WCDA or it's 811 or it's drunk driving stuff. There are a slew of ads on there that are paid for with your tax dollars. So why wouldn't they be in favor of larger government? Bigger government means more money for them, right? Well, even though they're depending on government, they're actually kind of capitalist when you think of it. Now the op-ed from the Turkey Vulture moves into this whole picking winners and losers. And it says, it's at this point, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Skip that paragraph. We don't disagree that things are nice, and we are certainly proud of our generous and friendly communities and great outdoor recreation areas. However, we also believe that it's short-sighted. We don't have to be a Harvard economist to notice the mass exodus of young adults from Wyoming. The University of Wyoming reports that 70% of recent grads and other young adults are leaving, headed for larger cities and neighboring states. And sorry, folks, but most of them aren't coming back. That so-called boomerang effect is one of nearly a dozen myths about the state's current situation that staff at the Wyoming Business Council assert are holding us back and are trying to dispel, if only people would listen with an open mind. Well, we try to listen to an open mind, but when you tell us stuff like that you have to have government involvement, that the free market is broken, that we don't have a big enough government, that government is in effect too small. That's what Josh Durrell said. On Monday, Wyoming Business Council CEO Josh Durrell shared a presentation with our editorial board that he's been giving to chambers of commerce, civic groups, and other communities statewide since the scientific study of Wyoming residents was conducted in September. It wasn't scientific. I covered this on the program not that long ago, that the reality is every question that survey asked was biased. And let me explain that for the people that disagree with me. When you ask a question, what is your view of Wyoming's economy? And one of the options is, things are going pretty good. And then the other 5 options are all negative. Well, that means that the question was crafted to give a desired response. And if you read through that survey, which, by the way, is posted at cowboystatepolitics.com on the show content page, you can look at every single question, and every single one of them were written to elicit a specific response from the interviewee. And so, of course, the survey results that, I don't think Wyoming's doing that great, which is what Josh Durrell reported to the Appropriations Committee. Quoting now, Mr. Durrell said that the survey was commissioned as a way to see if what they were hearing from people in many parts of the state was true. Do Wyoming residents really not want the state to grow? Okay, that was just part of it. That's Josh Durrell's interpretation of the data from that survey. Conducted from, now here's where it goes off the rails. conducted for, as if it wasn't already off the rails, conducted from September 20th to September 24th by the Terrence Group. The telephone survey of 500 likely voters included 75 people from Laramie and Natrona, 50 from each Albany, Campbell County, and Sheridan, and 200 from the rest of the state. Of course, it doesn't tell you where the rest of those came from, but anyway, it has a margin of error of 4.5%, and it reflects a diversity of opinions across the state and reveals several undeniable takeaways. Now, the first part of that last statement, that it reflects a diversity of opinions from across the state. We don't know that because Josh Durrell and the Wyoming Business Council wouldn't release the demographics of that survey. Anytime you hear a survey on the news or, in the newspaper, I shouldn't say anytime, most of the time, it will tell you, well, of those surveyed, 230 of them were Democrats. The rest of them were Republicans. But they don't list any of that. And so if you only survey Democrats, you're only going to get one response, and that is the response that you're looking for. It's absolutely a tilted survey, and to argue any other position is just to frankly not tell the truth. Let's see here. Only 18% of those surveyed said the state's economy is strong and growing, while 29% said it's growing but not enough. Are you listening to the questions here? A combined total of 42% described their view as slightly downside. Another 20% approaching recession. Another 7% recession. And so the only positive answer that was in the survey was the first one, strong and growing. The rest of them are negative. And so statistically, you're going to get more answers that are in the negative than folks that chose the first and only option that reflected a positive view of the economy. But anyway, that's just one paper's view, and the reason why they're in favor of it is they make a tremendous amount of money off of government, and it's they're all in on it. Every newspaper, and frankly the Cowboy too, even though all of theirs is advertising. All right, so I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that there was a giant avalanche on Teton Pass, and now it's under a 30-foot tall, 500-foot long wall of snow. From the Cowboy, quoting now, Teton Pass was closed all day Monday as the Wyoming DOT was forced to use bulldozers to clear more than 30 feet of wet, heavy snow from the highway. The pass was closed at 3 a.m. so that WYDOT crews could deliberately trigger an avalanche. By 3:45, more than 500 feet of Wyoming Highway 22 was covered with a massive amount of snow. It was a good thing we did it when we did, John Edens, engineer of WYDOT District 3, told the Cowboy. If we hadn't done it, the avalanche could very well have come down on the morning commute traffic. So it was intentional, but still a 30-foot high, 500-foot long wall of snow is a crapload of snow. I should have grabbed a couple of pictures of the avalanche to show you. But just imagine, it's over a football field long and it's 30 feet high. Edens said WYDOT decided to trigger the avalanche because of the volume of heavy snow in Glory Bowl, a large slide path on the southeast side of Mount Glory. Quote, "We got hit with a lot of snow up there, and wind and the rain and warmer temperatures caused it to become very unstable. When we see that the risk of an avalanche is high, we'll close the road and cause the avalanche to come down." WYDOT used Gazex exploders to trigger the early morning avalanche. These sophisticated units use propane and oxygen rather than traditional explosives to trigger an avalanche rather than risk waiting for one to happen naturally. So, sounds like job security to me. Trigger an avalanche so you can go plow snow. But, there again, Teton Pass, it's kind of treacherous. And, well, in any Wyoming pass, to be perfectly honest with you. That's one of the reasons why we live here is, not to be covered up in these hazards, but because these sorts of things chase some of the city slickers away. Let's go ahead and take our second break. We're pretty much close enough to the top of the hour. And right around 9 o'clock, we'll probably be back from the break when this happens. But right around 9 o'clock, we'll have my pal Rebecca Bextel to talk about the politics surrounding Harriet's endorsement. Back in a minute. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Hunting season. Right about now, you're off with all of your pals, stalking the big gigantic elk or buck mule deer that you've been thinking about all summer long. And your lovely wife is at home, probably enjoying her time without you. But soon, my friend, all of that is going to come to a screeching halt. And I want you to think about just one little thing. She's able to park her car inside the garage because all of your hunting crap is with you right now. Now, if you'd like the marital bliss to continue, I suggest you make a call to Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They can build you a garage or a barn or any other type of metal structure for you to store all of your toys in so that your wife can continue parking inside the garage. And you can avoid sleeping on the couch for the next month or two. Call Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Get them to build you a metal building before it's too late. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Tuesday, 2 days before Christmas. I, of course, am your host, David Iverson, documented to be almost always right 99% of the time. A record, my friends, that nobody in the media can even come close to. And not that they're even trying, because, it's kind of outside of their business model. Why? I mean, it reduces the amount of articles they can write. Well, no, they don't do that either. Usually what the mainstream media does is they go in and shadow edit all their arguments when they're wrong. So anyway, welcome back to the program. Merry Christmas. And I'm joined this morning by my pal, Rebecca Bextel. Let's see if I can get your... There we go. Hey, Rebecca, welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning, David. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad we could make this happen. So I guess we all have our answer as to what Harriet's going to do. What do you think?
I'm real excited about it. We have a fighter at the very top for Wyoming, and I think she's going to do a great job.
Well, I don't think that there's any, it doesn't matter what position Harriet's in, she'd still do a great job. I'm just a little bummed out that she's not running for governor. But hey, we'll cross that bridge when we have to.
Well, I think we have to wonder, I understand what you're saying. A lot of people want Harriet to run for governor. Do you want Governor Gordon as your next senator?
I still don't think, you and I maybe we can disagree on this one, but I don't see him I didn't see him running for the Senate. I know that it's not a step down from governor because you're going from a state office up to a national office, right. But just for him, being the multimillionaire that he is, I just didn't see him running for the Senate. He'd go from being one of 50 to one of 100. I don't know. I just didn't see it. Did you see that thing differently?
I don't know. I'm back and forth. I do think that he might run for Senate, but then on the other hand, I think he's going to go work for George Soros or Bill Gates. So I'm not exactly sure which one.
That's not too far off. Quite a while ago, I did a program where I'm like, well, what's Gordon going to do? And I thought, well, maybe he'll go work for one of these uber rich people, making windmills and tilting at them and, sucking all the CO2 out of the atmosphere that's never going to work. I didn't really see him running for, a congressional office. But all right, so we know what Harriet's going to do, and we know that anybody that runs against her is absolutely off their rocker because they'll get creamed. What about the other offices? You got any predictions?
Well, I don't know. I would like to see Secretary Chuck Gray run for a higher office. He's done a great job. He takes a beating in all of these SLIB board meetings. We never have to hold our breath and wonder what he's going to do. How many times do we think that Treasurer Meyer is going to vote a certain way, and then we're all just sitting there while he goes another way? So what I like about, there's many things I like about Chuck, but he has got a solid voting record. And so I would like to see him move up, and I would like to see Treasurer Meyer step down or get primary.
Well, I don't know about step down. I mean, losing an election might be all right. I'm not impressed by him. I mean, I know that he says, oh, look at all this money we made. Well, first, that's money you shouldn't have had. Second, it's not the government's job to take our tax dollars and make buku amounts of money. And I don't know. He doesn't give me the warm, fuzzy feeling that, yay, I want to vote for you. So I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll never forget the time that a few of us in Teton County were tuning into a SLIB board meeting about the Teton County Fairgrounds. And we just watched Chuck go after the ESG funding, just almost single-handedly. And we were all sitting there in disbelief. I had all the senior citizens in my office that couldn't do Zoom. We were all over the county. And all of a sudden, this guy texts on the Teton County family group text and says, everyone needs to go except Chuck. Okay. But he does such a good job. And, I'm just real proud of him. I know what it's like to stick my neck out there and fight for something and be the only one that's not scared of the town of Jackson, not scared of Teton County. It takes guts, and he's got guts. So I'd like to see him move up.
Well, there's no doubt that over the last, I don't know how many months it's been, but it seems like every vote before the SLIB board, it's 1-4, and it's Chuck against all of the others. And that is my biggest complaint with Christy Racinas, with Kurt Meyer, with Megan Degenfelder, and with Go Green Gordon. They're all a bunch of liberals, and they all vote together.
I don't know. I don't want to be so tough on Megan Degenfelder, and I'll admit I did not vote.
Oh, we got a debate going here. I'm excited.
I did not vote for her for superintendent, and I've told her that. But she has won me over, and I know some of this wind energy stuff is alarming. If you talk to her about it, I don't think it's the same as Treasurer Meyer, where he just is going to go against Chuck. So therefore, he's voting. He's just basically holding the state of Wyoming hostage because he doesn't like somebody. I think I like Megan Degenfelder. I think she's done a great job in many respects, and I have to say I like her a lot. And it's hard. Christy Racinas, man, isn't she a lovely person?
I really like Treasurer Racinas, or Auditor Racinas. But there again, you know me, Rebecca. I believe that how you vote is who you are, and when you've got a voting record, that's one of the things that we've got to start doing to all these politicians, is holding them accountable to how they vote. And you can't spend 2-3 years voting one way and then expect us all to assume, hey, look at me, I'm great, I'm a conservative, when you've done all sorts of things that aren't so conservative. That being said, I do like the direction that Superintendent Degenfelder has taken with education. I do like that.
Yes.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with her on the whole ESA bill. I've got some real reservations about that. But I think that she's been a real advocate for parents, for parental rights. I think that she's done, taken some hard stands in that area. So at the very least, here's what we'll do on this program and on our new program, or our new platform. We're going to get all these people on our platform, and we're going to ask them the hard questions. And so I look forward to being able to sit down with Superintendent Degenfelder, and we'll just ask her a lot of these questions. So who do you think is going to run for governor? Come on, give me a prediction.
I think there's we already know that Eric Barlow's out there, and I love the genius. One of my favorite things about Facebook is all the genius comments that people write under articles. And was that said, if you like Governor Gordon, you're going to love Eric Barlow.
Well, that's absolutely true.
I knew he was running for governor when I showed up at an event in Jackson and saw Barlow with Governor Gordon walking into an event, and I thought, oh gosh, here we go.
Oh Lord.
I think Bo Biteman is going to run for something. I personally hope that doesn't happen, just because I spent a lot of time in the last session and I watched his voting record. I think Tara Nethercott, Senator Nethercott, is probably going to run.
It slithers on this program, Rebecca.
I never trust a woman who doesn't smile. So I have some reservations there in addition to her voting record. You know, I like Cyrus Western. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I hope that he's not about to be our congressman or anything like that. What about Brett Behan? He's out there.
Okay, so Brent, let's talk about him for a minute. I mean, he did run against Mark Gordon in I guess that would have been 2022, and he got 48,000 votes, which I got to tell you, I thought was pretty impressive for a relative no name. I mean, by no name, I don't mean, I mean that he wasn't really involved in politics. And so to go from being like having zero name recognition to 48,000, I think that's a pretty good number. I think it's a respectable number. Let's put it that way. But I think it paled in comparison to Gordon's 101,000 votes. Now, with Gordon out of the picture, you got Brent Behan. You've already got Eric Barlow running for governor. Barlow is most definitely on the left. He voted with the Democrats 85% of the time. So, I mean, he is the de facto Democrat candidate. And then we'll probably have another person in there. So we know that Barlow will get the liberal vote. And then it's just a matter of, who could make the better conservative argument, Brent Behan. I mean, is he the military base at Guam. Is he a Marine?
I'm not sure. And he is a nice guy. And I think,
totally.
I think he would do a good job as governor. I don't think I don't know that I can see a path to victory there. I don't know.
Hold on just a second. So that last thing you said, that's the really important part here, is that you have to look at the candidate's ability to win. And of course, we're just political talking heads theorizing here. But, we know historically, when we split the vote in Wyoming, the liberal gets elected, a la Matt Mead and Governor Gordon. Everybody talks about Governor Gordon getting 33% of the vote. Matt Mead got 29% of the vote.
I think we've all just tried to block it out. But
post-traumatic stress.
Yes. I think Harriet is going to have the Senate on lockdown. So now we'll have Senator Barrasso. For Congress, I really would like to see someone like Chuck Gray.
I think that's, if you want to ask me, that's what he's going to run for.
Selfishly, I wish that he would stay here, but I think he deserves to get to move on. I would like to see maybe Megan Degenfelder run for something else. I think she has done a good job. I'd like to see, I really do like Christy Racinez. I just wish that she would come a little more on the conservative side. I hope that Treasurer Meyer has just served his last term, and I hope that Governor Gordon has. I would like to see like someone like maybe Rachel Rodriguez Williams run for something, or John Bear or Chip Nyman. They did such a good job.
So I think that
has done an excellent job. I mean, we've got so much talent here in Wyoming to only have 500,000 people.
Well, and that's another thing too. The conservatives have what I think is a fairly good bench. I don't know how deep it goes, but it's certainly better than the Redcoats bench. I mean, what do you got? Albert Summers and Eric Barlow. But let's hold off on talking about legislative races for just a second. So if we know that Harriet's running for the Senate, I think Chuck's going to run for the House. That leaves the governor, the treasurer, and the auditor. I think Christy Racinez will probably run for auditor again. Who do you see in the other races?
Well, I know there's a few legislators that are thinking about it, and they're, again, wonderful people, have a wonderful voting record. Can you raise $3 million? Can you raise $3 million to win, or are you counting on 8 people jumping in and then you're just going to sneak this thing out like Governor Gordon did? There's all kinds of names being tossed around that I don't want to say because I've been.
Fair enough. You realize you're about to be in the news business, so we'll talk about that later.
I might have a few good friends. It'll be like when I ran for chairman and I lost a couple of good friends over it.
Well, welcome to the news business.
I don't have that many friends.
So I don't know about the treasurer's race. I mean, I've heard a couple of different people. I don't know anything official there, and I certainly don't want to out anybody who's kind of kicking it around. The Secretary of State's race, man, that one kind of scares me because that's a seat that Slithers, Tara Nethercott ran for before. Now, Chuck trounced her in the election. But this time, if Chuck runs for the House, well, then, that's kind of an open seat. So that might be a place for, she may run for that, all to our to our disadvantage.
The only time I've ever seen Senator Nethercott smile was when she was pointing at me and making fun of me with Senator Mike Grew. I heard some cackling, and I looked over in the Senate chamber's door, and I saw her, and I basically it was like watching a movie. I heard someone say, "Who's trying to pass Senate File 40?" or something to that effect, and they just roared with laughter. But, Senator Nethercott, to me, she's not in the same category as just a bad politician. I think she's working directly against the best interests of the people in Wyoming. I hate to keep beating the drum on the 1/10,000th scam, but Senator Nethercott in 2022 literally tried to pass Senate File 113 to give all these private equity out-of-state developers an automatic property tax exemption. Do you want someone like that to be your next Secretary of State?
Absolutely not. And I think you bring up an interesting point, but not specifically on all the affordable housing stuff, which, by the way, excellent work on that. You have done the Lord's work on that. Hopefully we'll uncover some more stuff. But I think it raises a much larger issue, is that which candidate believes that government needs to be involved in all of these things, in private business, BWXT. I just did a story of Gordon giving $100 million to a company that already raised $500 million. So I think that you're going to see a real distinction between those folks that believe in government picking winners and losers, and and private business. I think that's going to be a real distinction in this election.
When I woke up this morning and my phone started ringing about Congresswoman Hageman's announcement.
Yours too, huh?
Yeah, I was wondering if I had just had a nightmare, or if someone had really sent me this article that Governor Gordon had written where he talks about we need to stand with the Wyoming Business Council, the Wyoming Community Development Authority, like all this crap. And it's like every private citizen is on the other side of this, okay? And then we've got Governor Gordon saying we all need to come together for the Wyoming Business Council, where we slide in your buddies, a little favor for your buddies that are starting a business. And I just think at this time, we are really going to have to put personal differences aside. Look at voting records. Look at who honestly can win. I think, I don't know that I will ever get over some of the shenanigans that happened to me in my run for chair. It still haunts me,
I'm sure.
The way Frank Etherhorn turned on me, I will never get over it. It will never stop bothering me. And I have a tough skin. If someone's not my friend, I don't care what they think. But to lose a friend, that's hard for me.
Yeah.
And that's how nasty politics is going to get. It's going to get times 10 that. And we just all need to remember, don't pay attention to the fake news. Look at someone's voting record. Look at the facts. Go with your gut instinct. And hopefully Wyoming is going to come out on top.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. The media in Wyoming is almost entirely on the left. All the major news sources, the Cowboy, the Tribune Eagle, the Casper Star, all of them tow the water or carry the water for the Wyoming left. And so I think one of the big things in this election is going to be, can we get independent media to be a little bit more prominent? And that's one of the things you and I are going to work on. Of course, we'll announce that a little bit later. Hey, by the way, do you want to hear my favorite Slithers soundbite?
I would love to.
This is one of the reasons why I call her Slithers. If I can get it to play.
I'm really more of a zombie at this point.
I believe it.
Crazy, right? All right, so we got a lot.
It's literally the living dead.
I know. So we've got a lot to talk about going forward, and so far we've got one official announcement of who's going to be running, and honestly, I think that clears up a lot, because there were a lot of people saying, "Well, we gotta wait and see what Harriet's going to do." Well, she's made that decision, and right. So now we can start filling the other races. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. We got a legislative session coming up, and an election. What do you think is going to happen with the House and the Senate during the legislative session? What's your prediction?
Well, it does seem like a lot of people in the House might be jumping over to the Senate. I do think that the Freedom Caucus did a wonderful job. My respect for Representative John Bear, Chairman John Bear. I mean, that guy never took a seat in the last session, always out there fighting. Jeremy Harrelson, Scott Smith, Nina Weber, Rachel Rodriguez Williams, Laura Pearson.
They all did a good job.
Oh, I guess Laura Pearson's in the Senate.
Ken.
But there were so many people. And, sometimes I would disagree with someone like Tom Kelly, but his heart is in the right place. And he's a fighter. And if he votes for something, he has a reason for it. Maybe you're not agreeing, but I never thought he's working for someone else. He's working for
special. No.
And which is how I felt a lot of times in the Senate. And so I think in the House, we're going to retain the majority of conservatives. There seems to be a witch hunt going on right now with the Freedom Caucus. I stand with them.
That's going to backfire.
Yeah, I stand with them, and I think the average Wyoming voter does. In the Senate, man, I hope that Senator Steinmetz doesn't continue getting beat up for this next session. It was painful to watch the way that she was treated. Good, decent bills like her illegal immigration bill, they just destroyed her just for personal things. That's what I'm getting tired of. All of this, all of these personal opinions and bad blood between people, and then the people of Wyoming suffer. Personally, I want to stand with good candidates that have a good voting record. I don't even care about someone's personal life or family drama. I don't care about any of that. Are you going to go to Cheyenne and vote accordingly? Vote the will of the people. If so, then you're going to get my support. And so I think in the Senate, I was honestly I have to give him credit. Senator Tim Salazar, watching that Josh Durrell, Wyoming Business Council hearing, John Bear, and there was a few shining stars, Scott Smith, Ken Pendergraph.
Ken was the rock star on that one.
Ken, he brought up so many good points, just very quietly like he does, just one hit after another. But when Mr. Durrell went off on a soliloquy, wasting everyone's time for about 10 minutes, and finally Chairman Salazar just cut him off. He said, "Okay, I've got some questions." I thought, oh, thank God. I didn't know how long this was.
I'm tired of listening to that guy talk.
We're not even learning anything. And then he just continued asking some tough questions. So I really am feeling hopeful for Senator Salazar. I do not have a lot of hope for President Biden, but I hope that he comes around for us. And I just want to say, I know I hammer him all the time. I actually liked him.
Rightfully so, by the way.
I liked him. Like, one of my fondest memories is President Biden and Kat Ruckert and I sitting there in Milwaukee sharing a pizza in the lobby one night after the meeting. I mean, he was a nice guy. I have nothing personally against him. It's just simply his voting record and who he put into leadership positions to succeed.
Well, that's why I say don't vote for your friends. Take them out to lunch. Don't vote for them. Because a lot of these people, sure, when you get them off, off and it's not politically related, sure, I've had nice conversations with Senator Nethercott. She and I really don't agree on a whole heck of a lot, but hey, when it's away, she's pleasant to talk to. The same is true with, or maybe used to be true between Bo Beitman and myself, but it's their voting record that is the problem. And
that's really all it is. It's just what they're doing to us.
When Dennis gave 7 of the 10 committees to the liberals, that was it, because it was obvious where his loyalties lie. Now, here's my prediction for this upcoming session. In the House, the conservatives don't have enough votes to push through anything we want. The redcoats, they've got more than a little bit more than a third, and so they can stop anything they want that's not budget related. And so I think what you're going to see is them stop a lot of pretty conservative bills. I think they'll start out trying to, play the part, because they too know that there's an election coming up, and they don't want to be seen as, way on the left coast. But it won't last for very long. I would say after about a week, you'll see them really start stopping stuff. And so it'll be kind of gridlock in the House of Representatives. I think some of the senators will kind of turn more conservatively and help push through some of the bills that actually do make it over to the chamber. Because again, you got an election coming up, and, one of the reasons we run gun bills in the budget session is because that election's coming up and nobody wants to be anti-gun. But I really don't think that we're going to see a lot of super, super conservative stuff come out. But I think what'll happen is the redcoats are going to show their true colors.
Yes.
And then the election is going to be very similar to what it was, the previous 2 elections, where Wyoming citizens are just tired of all these liberals, and it's going to be, all right, we saw what you did. We're voting for the other guy. But I think it's going to be fascinating, and we're going to have a lot more media attention of what's actually going on. And I'm so excited to announce that. Of course, I've been teasing this for a while. But we'll have the official announcement after Christmas, after we're all done with our shopping list.
Well, I just want to say how proud I am of Congresswoman Hageman. When I travel anywhere in the country, people say, "Where are you from?" I'll say Wyoming, and they'll say, "Oh my goodness, Hageman. Oh, I just watched her video." I mean, she's literally like a celebrity, except she actually is the real deal. I mean, she is a fighter. One time I was at the Trump rally with her in Colorado. I mean, she couldn't move 2 feet. People trying to get her picture, wanting to talk to her about stuff. And this one guy, I remember, was kind of harassing her about Rocky Mountain Power. And buddy, she just she stands with the facts. Okay. She is not a flattery. She is with us 100%. I'm so proud of her. And she has really just set the bar so high for Wyoming politicians as far as integrity and getting things done. I do also want to thank you, David, for never backing down from the truth. I don't think that you understand how important you are for people understanding what is really happening in the state. I can't imagine if we did not have you. And also people like Don Marcour, Laura Pavey. I don't even know this lady, Tina Johnson. I always read her stuff. I mean, there are so many people around Wyoming that are just kind of quietly toiling away and exposing the truth and doing these investigative pieces. Kathy Russell. I mean, if you ever sit there and talk to Kathy Russell, who's the executive director of the GOP, I mean, she is really something. I mean, she knows so much about Wyoming. What's going on. You cannot pull the wool over her eye. Countless legislators that kind of stay below the radar unless they are attacked, like Bill Alaman. I'm going to do everything I can to defend his seat. I'm going to raise money for him. Whatever he needs, he can call me. Same thing for Laura Pearson. I mean, there are so many legislators that have just done an excellent job, but we don't even talk about it. People aren't even talking about it unless they're getting thrown under the bus trying to defend the state from nuclear waste or whatever it is. There are also, people that came before us that we need to thank. Again, Frank Etherhorn. He moved our party from a uniparty to a Republican party.
Yes.
We cannot, we need to give him credit for what he did. I mean, and I'm thankful for it. There's just so many people like that just toiling away behind the scenes And that's how we've gotten to this point. And I'm thankful. So I'm excited.
Well, there are so many people, and thank you, Rebecca. Flattery will get you everywhere on this program. But it's one of the biggest things I get a charge out of is when I've talked about something either on this show or on the podcast, and whether it's something I dug up or just a story, and then a little bit later I see it starting to pop up on social media. A good example of that was the Wyoming Education Association and their Safe and Just Schools cadre, the one where they're training teachers to be activists. Anyway, they've got this logo, and it's the socialist fist. So I did a story about it. And then about an hour later, I see that same thing popping up all over social media. And it gives me such a charge to see that there are people that are trying to make a difference in their own community and raise people's attention to what's actually going on. For so long, the Redcoats had a monopoly on information, that it was only the Pravda on the Platte and your local newspaper, and that was it. And now it's really the cow pie has taken over for whatever the Casper Star Tribune had. But it's the same thing. And yet there are so many people. You mentioned a couple of them, Dawn Marquardt and Tina Johnson and Laura Pavey.
Yeah.
They're doing great work exposing these things that were so hidden for so long. And what you're going to see is when we start our new media venture, which I guess technically it's already started. But anyway, I really hope that we're going to see an increase in those voices. I mean, that's why we're doing it, is so that we can get the truth out to more people. And on the other hand, though, to provide a as unbiased as we can news source.
Right.
That, we don't really care who you are, if it's a worthwhile article, if it's factual. All right, we'll print it. I published one on of course, the website's technically live, but I published one from a guy that, I really don't disagree with. I don't agree with him, but I published it anyway. Well,
and I would highly recommend that everybody watch Honor Wyoming's recent documentary about the education system here in Wyoming. But Honor Wyoming, look what they've done. They have raised awareness for so much stuff. I mean, Blair and I lost miserably trying to save the Teton County Fairgrounds from that low-income housing scam. And I think that just catapulted her to start Honor Wyoming. She decided, I'm tired of playing. We got to get smart, work harder. Work smarter, not harder. Also people like Marty Halverson, Jill Kaufman, Rick Martin, sitting there beating the drum on voter integrity and all these other things. Marty, in my opinion, is a Wyoming institution. I actually look for reasons to drive to Star Valley so I can take her out to lunch and catch up. She, where would we be without people like that? So I think that our new project is going to give, hopefully, a voice to some of these heroes around Wyoming fighting the good fight that no major news source is ever going to cover.
Yep.
I'm excited about who's running for office. I'm very excited about Congresswoman Hageman, hopefully being our next senator. I see no way that she's not about to be the next U.S. senator. And
she's already got that one.
Senator Gordon runs against her just so that'll clear the field for the rest of the people.
Yeah.
The other offices, please, Governor Gordon, run for Senate. And, Megan Degenfelder, Chuck Gray, Rachel Rodriguez-Williams, John Bear. I mean, Sherry Steinmetz. There are so many people that I hope to see elevated. They have done a great job. So,
there's a lot of rock stars for sure. All right. Well, Rebecca, I appreciate you taking the time this morning. Go get your Christmas shopping done. And I'm sure we'll be talking later on this afternoon. So thank you very much for joining the program.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I've got some Christmas news for you. Well, not really news, but more of a Christmas story to tell you about. So we're going to do that when we come back. I know. The weather seems to be toying with us. 60 one day, 42 the next, and pretty soon, my friends, those 6s and 4s are going to turn into 3s and 2s. Though we all want to avoid it, that white stuff is coming, my friends, and you will be shoveling the walk in it. It's cold, it's unpleasant, and nobody likes to do it. But you could make it just a little bit more comfortable and prevent your feet from turning into a giant block of ice. In fact, you could keep them nice and warm and toasty, and your toes will never even know that they're outside. The rest of you may be frozen solid, but at least your feet won't be. To make all this happen, you just need a pair of socks from the Buffalo Wool Company. They are the finest socks that I've ever put on my feet. To get you a pair, go to their website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Are you one of those guys that listen to the president just a little bit too closely and now you're tired of winning? Are you getting the feeling that there's been way too many good things happening in our country and you just can't take it anymore? Well, if you are, and you think you should follow Rosie O'Donnell's example and get the heck out of Dodge, you need to call Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She'll make those foreign country living ideas a reality for you. All you have to do is call 307-699-3519, and she'll make sure some freedom-loving, red-blooded American will now live in the home that you no longer want. If you want to sell your house, or if you want to buy one that's way better than the house you have right now, give Rebecca a call. Again, her phone number is 307-699-3519.
I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day, don't you? Well, I can show you how. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day. I'm only gonna get stronger.
Cowboy State Politics is only going to get stronger. This program is only going to continue to expand. The Cowboy State Politics Podcast, the Outrider, the newsletter of the program. Sign up for it if you haven't already. Go to the website and fill out the pop-up form, and I'll send you a copy of it. If you want to know about all the stories that are happening on the program, go ahead and sign up for the Outrider. I really enjoy putting that together. It gives me another way to communicate, gives you and I another way to communicate. You know, there are just some people that don't want to listen to podcasts. I don't have any idea what's wrong with them, but there are some people that don't. And so they just prefer their news in written form. So I really enjoy putting that together. And if you want to get a copy of it, go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, and sign up for it. And I will get you a copy of it. Now, I mentioned yesterday on the program that the lovely Christine and I have a holiday tradition where there are just certain movies that we have to watch on the holidays. So for Thanksgiving, it's the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and then on Christmas Eve, it's The Bishop's Wife, and then on Christmas Day, she and I usually just take that day for ourselves, and that's what we're going to do this year anyway. And we don't really have any set movies for Christmas Day, but they're almost always Santa related. And one of those classics is It's a Wonderful Life. And there are a couple of untold stories with that movie. Paul Harvey did a great piece about It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm going to play that for you here in just a second. But there's a piece in The Blaze this morning, and it's entitled It's a Wonderful Life, the amazing untold story of the classic Christmas movie. And I quote, "It's a Wonderful Life wasn't always a beloved classic. In fact, it was a complete failure and nearly destroyed the careers of Frank Capra and Jimmy Stewart. It was absolutely born out of failure. It was born out of exhaustion, and it was born out of people who just felt like the lead character, George Bailey." That was, according to Blaze Media co-founder Glenn Beck. The movie was made by Frank Capra, and it was right after World War II. Capra had just come back. He didn't come home triumphant. He came home a changed man. He had spent the war making film for the U.S. government, the War Department, about why the West is worth saving. Capra came back and started his own studio, betting absolutely everything on it, and it was a flop. The movie lost money. Critics didn't like it. They mocked how schmaltzy it was. Audiences stayed home. Jimmy Stewart, this was his first movie that he made when he came back from the war, and it was really his start. So kind of a not so good start for Mr. Stewart. The Most Beloved Man in America gave a really raw, shaken, almost too real performance for people at the time. It wasn't the cheerful hero that is coming out of the war a victor. That it was a man that was cracking under the weight of responsibility, a man who did everything right but still felt like he was a failure. And so, well, I tell you what, instead of reading this last part, I'm going to go ahead and play for you Paul Harvey's discussion of It's a Wonderful Life. It's one of my favorite movies. The kind of the angel that is kind of a bumbling, kind of messing everything up type of guy. But anyway, here is Paul Harvey talking about It's a Wonderful Life.
Author Philip Van Doren Stern got the idea one winter morning in 1938 while he was shaving. He was shaving, and the entire story came to him, beginning to end, right there in front of the bathroom mirror. But Philip would not write the story down until a year later, and he would not try to sell the story until 4 more years had passed, and even then nobody would buy it. He tried to interest magazines in publishing it. He was turned down by everything from the Saturday Evening Post to the local farm journals. Finally, a movie studio bought the story, which the author had entitled The Greatest Gift. RKO Radio Pictures purchased the property at the suggestion of Cary Grant, by the way. Cary Grant thought the hero might be a suitable role for himself someday. And yet, try as they might, RKO screenwriters simply could not adapt the story to a movie-worthy script. So more years passed. RKO sold The Greatest Gift to another movie maker who had just organized a new company called Liberty Films. That producer-director's name, by the way, was Frank Capra. And under his loving guidance, Philip Stern's little Christmas story did grow into one of the most moving and heartwarming tales ever told. And each Christmas time, televiewers thrilled to the retelling of an all-American yarn which Frank Capra retitled, It's a Wonderful Life. But this is the rest of the story. The motion picture, It's a Wonderful Life, is about a man named George Bailey on the brink of suicide, granted a unique opportunity to see what the world would have been like had he never been born. It's a Wonderful Life has become a classic, consistently listed by critics among the 10 greatest movies ever made, but it did not become an American cultural phenomenon until the mid-1970s, and there's a reason for that, aside from its intrinsic greatness. For you see, when It's a Wonderful Life first appeared in theaters, December 1946, it received mixed reviews. It barely broke even at the box office, received not one Academy Award. Its less than spectacular reception was a tremendous disappointment to Frank Capra. It was so generally ignored over the following 3 decades that in 1974, when its copyright came up for renewal, somebody in the studio office forgot or didn't bother to go to the trouble of renewing the copyright, and that's how one of the 10 greatest motion pictures of all times slipped inobtrusively into what's called the public domain. And that's why America's undisputed favorite holiday movie became just that, because television stations can air it for free. And so they air it often, exposing it to millions. Experts guesstimate that the owners, had they held on to the copyright, It's a Wonderful Life would be earning them conservatively $26 million a year. In addition to the more than 1,200 radio and television stations airing it at least twice each year, there are 15 video companies selling the classic on cassette. They're cranking out copies for what amounts to the wholesale cost of blank tape. That's right. To paraphrase its original title, maybe that is the greatest gift of all. That we all get rich every Christmas time. In lots of ways. Because we get to see and re-see and re-see It's a Wonderful Life. Just because somebody, maybe some bumbling guardian angel, failed to renew the copyright. By the way, had that whoever it was back there bothered to renew the copyright, it would have cost his employers a renewal fee of only $4. Merry Christmas. And now you know the rest of the story.
Isn't that great? The movie It's a Wonderful Life is absolutely in the public domain. And one of the greatest movies of all, Christmas movie, well, one of the greatest movies of all time, was a failure when it began. That nobody liked it, that nobody wanted to watch it, that it was too schmaltzy, that it didn't fit the narrative, that it wasn't the victor coming home from war and him being all happy, that it was the downtrodden guy that was considering suicide. And I hadn't intended to take this program here, but let's just talk about that for a minute. There are people in our state, in your own town, that are really having a hard time for Christmas, that they, maybe something that's happened in their life and they're really not in the Christmas mood. Well, it's just the nature of the season, or perhaps, and definitely it's Jesus, but it is so much an opportunity for you to reach out to those people. And you probably know them, but reach out to those people. They'll be receptive to the message, and you never know how much like one little gesture can mean to someone. And so don't get so caught up in your own Christmas things that you forget about those people who are in need, because there are some. There are lots. And, whatever you can do to make their Christmas make their lives a little bit better, just take the time. Remember, Christmas is not about receiving. It's not about the things that we get from all of our loved ones. It's about giving, because after all, we're celebrating the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ, who came to this world to give his life to save all of us from eternal damnation. That was his giving, giving of his life that saved all of us. And let us not forget, my friends, that one drop of his blood, one drop, can take away all the sin of the world. And so when you have time this Christmas, and now scratch that, make time this Christmas to reach out to somebody who perhaps is not as fortunate as you, who maybe is having a hard time, who just needs someone to help show them the Christmas spirit. Do that. It's important. All right, my friends, we've got about 15 minutes left in the program, and I thought we should end the show on kind of a funny note. That's and let's be honest, there is a lot of stuff that's happening in politics that is just downright hilarious. One of those is Yasmin Crockett. Now, at America Fest, which I watched a little bit of that. In fact, I watched a couple of speeches this morning while I was doing show prep, while my phone was blowing up, and it wasn't until I picked it up that I realized that Harriet was announcing her run for the Senate. But one big thing, and there were a lot of things that came out of America Fest. Maybe I'll talk about them a little bit after the Christmas holiday. But one of them was Yasmin Crockett. Now, she says that J.D. Vance was using racist tropes because he's afraid that Yasmin Crockett will turn Texas blue. And I quote, Sunday on Ms. Now's The Weekend Show, Representative Yasmin Crockett said that Vice President J.D. Vance used racist tropes against her because he is afraid that she'll turn Texas blue by winning the Senate seat. At a Turning Point USA America Fest conference, Vance said, quote, Yasmin Crockett, oh, Yasmin Crockett, the record speaks for itself. She wants to be a senator, though her street girl persona is about as real as her nails. Now, I don't know what's so racist about that statement. It's certainly insulting and absolutely deserved, but I don't see why it's racist in any way. Well, here's that exchange on, and let me just see here. Let's see if I can, here we go. Here is Yasmin Crockett on J.D. Vance.
Turning Point USA conference.
And Yasmin Crockett. Oh, Yasmin Crockett. The record speaks for itself. She wants to be a senator, though her street girl persona is about as real as as her nails.
And Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is back here with us. So, Congresswoman, let's start right there. With the way that the vice president speaks about you.
Listen to this.
The caricature he tried to make of you at this conservative youth conference. I think every black woman heard what he was trying to say there. It's extra laughable in a way because what precedes this moment is him coming out, to an entire pyrotechnic show and rock music and fanfare for, him to comment on your flair. But what do you think he's trying to say there? What do you think he's trying to signal at a conference like this to an audience like this?
Well, first of all, he's trying to rile up his base because right now we know that no matter if we're looking in deep red Tennessee, Mississippi, or Georgia, we know that we're swinging no less than 10 points. And unlike what we've had historically in Texas, because I know that you talked about the Texas dream of turning us blue, is that we have a candidate in me who absolutely plans to talk to any and everybody, and that is why they are afraid. The fact that he said I have a quote-unquote street girl persona, I'm sorry, but anybody that you talk to knows my credentials. They know that I've gone to school. They know that I'm educated. I never tried to put on some random story about where I came from, but at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I am authentic. And that is actually what they are fearful of, is my authenticity, because...
Yeah, we're totally scared of your authenticity. And, make no mistake, Jasmine Crockett is about as authentic as they get. I mean, who else, when you say the word authenticity, who else pops into your mind except for Jasmine Crockett? I mean, except for, maybe when you see stuff like this. Now, remember, she's authentic, and that is what scares the crap out of all of us conservatives. Watch this.
That is actually what they are fearful of, is my authenticity, because it rings true with every single American.
No one could have told me that when I went down to Austin,
listen to that
now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things.
On-campus mailboxes. And at that time, my school hired the Cochran firm. And there was a lawyer who graduated from University of Houston who was assigned to me.
You're not. We done picking cotton.
Yeah. Like 100 years ago.
You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I want the American people to know that when you stand up to a bully, you win. Do not back down. Do not bend.
And I'm gonna be the first one. You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out, all right?
But at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I am authentic.
Yeah, she's an authentic fraud, is what she is. And, it's truth in advertising, really. When you say they're scared of my authenticity, it's almost like a classic Freudian slip, right? Oh, I'm authentic. Yeah, I'm an authentic fraud. Is what it's just amazing to me, Jasmine Crockett as authentic. Yeah. Well, and that's just the thing, right? The liberals, the redcoats and the liberals, the only thing that they have is to try to deceive you and to try to make it, to misdirect your attention, to direct your attention elsewhere so that you don't pay attention to their own record. It's the same thing that we hear from the redcoats here in the state. When Eric Barlow announced his run for governor, he stood up there and he said, I'm a conservative. I'm totally conservative. I do all this conservative stuff, except, of course, that every time he's in power, he buries every pro-life bill. And he's the only legislator in recent memory that has written gun control into Wyoming law. Oh, and he votes with the Democrats 85% of the time. There's nothing conservative about that. But it's all misdirection with them. It's all pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It's it's absolutely incredible. I think that's all I've got from her. Let me look at the videos real quick, because I know I recorded several things for this morning's show. And I got to tell you, here we go. So here is John Kennedy on, and who could, when we're talking about having a laugh from politics, who could leave out John Kennedy? Check this out.
As America, Laura, as you know, we all have the right to to express our opinion. You're not free if you can't say what you think. And the Congresswoman has the right to her opinion. But I have the right to mine. And somebody needs to tell the Congresswoman. It'll be in her best interest. They need to tell her that the voices in her head are not real.
The voices that tell her to run for the U.S. Senate. And you know what, Senator Kennedy, I think we should just absolutely encourage Jasmine Crockett to run for whatever higher office she wants to, just so we can watch the fallout from it. It is going to be absolutely tremendous. Well, my friends, we've burned up another busy broadcast, 2 hours on the program. Well, pretty close to it. But there again, it's my program, and I can do whatever I want. So let me tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll release the traditional Cowboy State Politics Christmas story. I've been dying to show this to you. We put it together, and this is something I do every year. I try to do a different story every Christmas, and me and the lovely Christine are excited to bring this to you. So that's going to be released on Christmas Eve, probably in the late afternoon, before we go to our Christmas Eve service. And so keep your eyes peeled for that one. And we'll also have, and you know what? I've been thinking about this. I think we're just going to forego the regular Wednesday episode. And I mean, it's Christmas Eve, and maybe we should just do the Christmas story. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. But for now, my friends, I have more elfing to do, and I will see you tomorrow on the program. Make sure that you go get your holiday stuff all taken care of, get the dinner plans ready to go, and I'll see you tomorrow for another installment, for the very first Christmas Eve installment of Cowboy State Politics Live. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson, and this is Cowboy State Politics. See you tomorrow, my friends.